The Black Sea boiled with war. Underneath its surface, the last vestiges of stealth and silence gathered strength. Above it, an overconfident enemy fleet steamed forward, drunk on past victories and blind to the trap ahead. What followed would be remembered not as a battle, but as an annihilation. In a daring act of defiance, a ragtag group of Ukrainian sailors, drone operators, and special forces would engineer a sea ambush so devastating that it changed the balance of naval power in a single night. This is the story of how the hunted became the hunters, and destroyed an entire war fleet. The date was July 12, 2025. The Russian Black Sea Fleet had grown bolder again after months of cautious silence. With renewed confidence, a strike group composed of 6 warships, including the guided missile cruiser Admiral Nakhimov, began moving south of Crimea, clearly preparing for a show of force against Odessa. Ukrainian intelligence had been watching closely. Satellite feeds, intercepted communications, and maritime drone reconnaissance painted a clear picture. The fleet had dropped its guard. Anti-drone defenses were relaxed. Sonar sweeps were fewer. It was arrogance, deadly arrogance. Commander Maxim Koval, head of Ukraine's Naval Special Operations Command, saw the opportunity. A joint operation was conceived in total secrecy, involving unmanned surface drones, naval commandos, underwater mines, and long-range anti-ship missiles. They called it Trident Ambush. "We won't just fight them," Koval told his team. "We'll erase them." For days, Ukrainian drones flew disguised as fishing vessels, pinging back sonar and radar data to command centers buried beneath Odessa and Mykolaiv. The Sea Baby drones, fast, low-profile, and packed with explosives, were deployed to patrol shipping lanes under remote guidance. Divers from the 73rd Naval Center laid smart mines near choke points around Snake Island. These weren't ordinary mines. They used acoustic signatures to identify and prioritize targets. The moment a warship passed near, they would home in and detonate with crushing force. On land, 4 truck-mounted R-360 Neptune missiles were relocated under cover of night to new hidden firing positions near Bilhorod-Dnistrovsky. Once the ambush began, they'd deliver the killing blows from above. The final piece was the use of decoys, old fishing vessels filled with radar jamming equipment, designed to lure and confuse the Russian fleet's air and missile defenses. The plan was precise and dangerous. One misstep could expose the entire operation. But Ukraine had no choice. The fleet posed a clear and immediate threat to their southern coast and their people. If they didn't strike now, they might not get another chance. At exactly 1:43 a.m., under the moonless sky of July 14th, the trap was sprung. The Russian cruiser Admiral Nakhimov led the fleet near Snake Island, assuming a tight diamond formation. They believed they were in control. But as they approached the minefield, the acoustic sensors clicked into life. The first explosion came without warning, beneath the hull of the frigate Admiral Essen. A violent plume of water and fire burst skyward. The ship snapped in half and began to sink within minutes. The fleet froze, alarms blaring. Crews scrambled to activate sonar. But before they could recalibrate, the Sea Baby drones began their charge. From the darkness, 10 drones skimmed across the water like silver phantoms. 2 slammed into the rear of the Admiral Makarov, punching through its stern and causing an engine room inferno. The Russian ships opened fire with deck guns, trying to shoot the drones out of the water. But the drones were too fast, too low, and too numerous. One after another, they detonated across the fleet. A destroyer tried to retreat south, only to trigger another mine and vanish in a geyser of seawater. The entire formation was unraveling. And the worst was yet to come. As the Russian fleet struggled to regroup, 4 long-range radar signals lit up the sky over southern Ukraine. From hidden launchers, the Neptune missiles roared into the night. Traveling barely above the sea surface, they screamed toward their targets. One missile struck the already damaged Admiral Makarov, splitting it open like a can of fuel. Another soared directly into the bridge of the Admiral Nakhimov, the pride of the Black Sea Fleet. The warhead penetrated the reinforced superstructure before erupting in a chain of secondary explosions. The command ship sank bow first, taking with it dozens of officers, including Rear Admiral Sergei Doroshin, the architect of Russia's Black Sea resurgence. A final Neptune missile locked onto the last remaining frigate, now fleeing east at full speed. It never made it. Fire consumed its midsection, and it rolled sideways, disappearing beneath the waves. In under 20 minutes, 6 major warships had been either sunk or rendered inoperable. The sea, once ruled by the Russian Navy, now lay silent, shattered steel drifting among oil slicks and floating wreckage. Over encrypted radio, Commander Koval whispered, "Phase complete. Mission success." And across Ukraine, there was silence, followed by cheers. The hunters had become the ghosts. The next morning, satellite images confirmed what Ukrainian command already knew. The Russian Black Sea Fleet had been decimated in one night. International analysts were stunned. NATO admirals called it one of the most effective modern naval ambushes in recorded history. The Kremlin denied the full scale of the disaster, but footage from onboard Russian sailors, leaked within hours, showed chaos, panic, and fire. They couldn't hide the truth. More than 1,200 Russian sailors were unaccounted for. Rescue helicopters hovered over flaming wrecks, retrieving only handfuls of survivors. The Black Sea, once considered a fortress for Russia's navy, had become its graveyard. Ukraine, meanwhile, had suffered 0 casualties. President Zelensky, in a brief but poignant address, said, "This was not just a battle. It was justice. It was the sea remembering who it belongs to." The strike changed everything. Russia immediately withdrew its remaining vessels to the port of Novorossiysk. Grain convoys resumed sailing. NATO pledged additional naval assets to Ukraine. Morale across the nation soared. And in the headquarters of Naval Special Operations, Commander Koval quietly folded the operation file labeled Trident Ambush and locked it away. No boasting. No parades. Just the cold, precise satisfaction of a mission perfectly executed. Weeks later, deep beneath the Black Sea, a Ukrainian diver placed a small plaque into the sand near the wreck of the Admiral Nakhimov. It read, "To those who came to conquer and stayed to drown. The sea remembers." As the diver surfaced, his silhouette framed against the rising sun, a new patrol drone zipped past overhead, scanning for future threats. Ukraine had rewritten naval warfare, not with massive fleets, but with strategy, sacrifice, and unmatched daring. The world took notice. In war colleges from Annapolis to Tokyo, the Trident Ambush became a case study in asymmetric sea power. But to the sailors who carried it out, it was something else. It was a promise kept, that no enemy, no matter how mighty, would ever again feel safe in their waters.